What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with a preview for the Players' Championship. Before we get into that, let's go back to last week. We've got a little bit of a giveaway. Mentioned on the show last week that I have a brand new Slack channel via DFS On Demand. It's an offering for members, and it was a lot of fun this week as we were sweating out Molinari and we were complaining about Jason Day and all that stuff. So it was a lot of fun, and I said I'll give away a week's subscription to DFS On Demand that includes access to Slack if you commented on the video. The winner is Ryan Stewart. Ryan, thanks for the comment. I'll get in touch with you and we'll get you set up. And we'll do the same thing this week. So if you're interested in potentially winning a membership to DFS On Demand and to our private Slack channel, leave a comment below. Also, subscribe. Maybe that would be cool. And let me know what you would shoot at Sawgrass this week. Yes, you're out there on the course, tournament conditions. What would you shoot? I don't think I could break 115. I don't know. I'm a pretty good golfer. I don't think I could break 115. What would you shoot? Let me know. We'll get you entered. And then just as a bit of a programming note, I will be on the Pat Mayo Experience with Pat and Ben Raza tomorrow. That's Tuesday. So keep an eye out for that. Go support us over there. It's on the DraftKings channel. Leave a comment on his video, letting him know where you came from. And it'll be a lot of fun. So I hope you guys enjoy. Let's talk about the players. All right, the Players' Championship, TPC Sawgrass, plenty of great course history. It's a par 72. This course is one of the most volatile in terms of results, so we'll talk more about that in a second. But note that this used to be played in May. This is the first time in, I can't remember how many years, that the Players is now going to be in March. Early indications are that the winds might be a little bit more in play, and guys that normally, might not have to hit driver might be hitting driver this week if they got wind a little bit into them. It just might be a little windier conditions. Also, again, it's very early in the week, but looking at some pictures from practice rounds today here on Monday, rough looks pretty short. Course looks in beautiful condition. We'll talk about what it's going to take to win this thing when we get to the course key stats, but just wanted to throw that out there at first. All right, let's take a peek at the cheat sheet here and see what we can glean. And with it being the Players, there's obviously a super strong field this week, right? We've got 6 guys over 10,000. The pricing is always a little bit softer as it is for majors. This is obviously not a major, but it is treated as such in the golf industry, especially on DraftKings. So you get a lot of big prize pools and you get a lot of soft pricing. So the 6 guys over $10,000 are Dustin at 11.4. He leads the way. JT at 11.1. Rory at 10.8. Tiger at 10.5. Rose at 10.2. And Koepka at 10,000. I think we really need to talk about at least 2 of these guys. I mean, they're all, it's a plethora of riches here. You can make a case for or against any one of them. But I really want to kind of jump around a little bit today and talk more specifically about some players. And I'm going to go to the strokes gained tool here. And what you'll see is if we go to strokes gained off the tee, for example, Rory McIlroy is head and shoulders above the field in strokes gained off the tee, averaging about 5 strokes gained per tournament compared to his salary, which he is, still very expensive, but I believe he's the 3rd most expensive golfer. He literally just laps the field. If you go to tee to green, the numbers are pretty good too. Thomas and Rory check in kind of in the same spot, and then Hideki is another guy who's towards the top. But I want to look a little bit deeper at Rory, so we'll pull him up here and see what we can find. And I want to go and sort this by Rory's tee to green numbers. And if you're looking at the round by round strokes gained tee to green for Rory, like I am on the screen right now, if you're listening to the podcast, I'll describe this to you. He has lost strokes tee to green 1 time in 19 rounds this year. This is since the start of 2019. It's since the start of the century. It's the Tournament of Champions. 1 round out of 19, he has lost strokes tee to green. And I know what you're thinking, Rick, like he's an elite golfer. Like, of course he's only losing, only one round. Not necessarily true. I mean, I'll go to Dustin here, who's obviously another elite golfer. Dustin is gaining strokes tee to green in 10 of his 14 rounds. Again, also very, very good, but not Rory situation, right? Like, let's go to Justin Thomas. Let's see what his is. I didn't look this up yet, so we'll see. Justin Thomas has been very, very good this season, but has lost strokes in 4 of his last 9 rounds. Okay, so just to kind of put this into, and before that, he probably went on a, 4, 8, 12, 15 round stretch where he gained strokes. So what Rory's doing right now is really, really elite and really, really consistent. Okay, and I'm hoping that putting that into a visual shows you how good he has been. I understand he has not closed the deal. I understand there is now this narrative building that he just chokes it away or punts it away on Sunday when he has the lead. Got a little unlucky yesterday, rimmed out a few putts, never really got it going. If you keep putting yourself in a position to win, like he just keeps knocking on the door. It's Rory McIlroy. He's going to break through. This just feels like as good a spot as any, where if you go back and you look, and to kind of pull this up, I mentioned this earlier, Sawgrass, you can see it does not, it's hard to find super elite course history. You can find guys that have done well and have done really poorly. Ricky Fowler basically bookended his win with missed cuts and bookended his second place finish with missed cuts. Justin Rose, missed cut, fourth, missed cut. Here's Jason Day, a former champion, and another top 6, basically has missed the cut every other time he has played this. Jordan Spieth has missed three out of the last 4. Francesco Molinari has 4 top 10s and 4 missed cuts. Like it does not discriminate. It can be the two ends of the spectrum. So if you're looking to take on more risk, actually I shouldn't say take on more risk. I should say maybe if you're interested in fading the top, or fading really popular players up top, that is potentially a very good strategy this week, because again, this course does not discriminate against high numbers, a lot of balls in the water that you can throw up a crooked one really quickly. But Rory has historically played well. Missed the cut in 2018, but before that, 5 straight made cuts, including 4 top 12s in that span. It's going to be difficult for me to not get as much as Rory as possible. I just don't see how he doesn't continue this great play here. Now, the other guy I think we should talk about is Brooks Koepka, who is coming off, the last 2 years, an 11th and a 16th place finish. He's made the cut in 3 straight trips. And I want to go back to the strokes gain numbers for Brooks and kind of just show you why this might be a buy low candidacy. Missed the cut last week at the Arnold Palmer. Obviously not ideal. But before that, you can see he had, 7 straight rounds where he gained strokes tee to green, actually gained them on Friday at the Arnold Palmer, lost a half a stroke on Thursday. But what's really let him down recently, when he has not played well, is the putting. 4 really bad rounds putting at the WGC. We backed him at the Honda, thinking that was a buy low opportunity. He goes out and finishes second. We were right there. Another situation where you get, 2 poor putting rounds in a row. Now we give him an opportunity to potentially bounce back here at the Players. And, I wonder what his ownership is going to be for a guy who's coming off a missed cut, and there's plenty of other studs to play around him. So, Koepka's one of these guys where, and even if you just look, like you want to look at approaches too, outside of the Arnold Palmer last week, 9 straight rounds gaining strokes on approaches. I mean, it's just one of these things where the putter let him down. That's the most volatile thing. That's the thing that can turn around the quickest, usually for most golfers. We'll buy back in on Koepka this week. Feel the need to talk a little bit about Jason Day, and I promise you I won't spend too much time on it. He's the past champion. He has 3 top 6s in his last, 5 or 6 starts. plays 5 holes in withdrawals last week, and the Slack channel kind of blew up a little bit, and we were talking this through about, hey, are you ever, like, what do you do with Jason Day this week? All right, there's already a tweet that he's hitting balls at the range and his back feels great. Super scary, right? But what is Jason Day's incentive to tee it up again not healthy? And what was his incentive to do it last week? Like last week, he probably, like, if you play his intention is not to play 5 holes in withdrawal. His intention is, if he's teeing it up, he thinks he can play 4 rounds. He was wrong. He withdrew. If he does it again, I'd be pretty shocked to see another WD here. I think it would be pretty, I don't want to say catastrophic, but like it would be like malpractice for him to try to tee this up again and have to withdraw. If he really has a back injury like this, he should be taking off multiple weeks. But what it's going to do is present a situation where a past champion who by all accounts fits this course, obviously, is $9,200 and no one's going to own him. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with Jason Day yet, but it's going to offer a very, very, very high leverage situation if he is like 7% owned or something like that. Because he's, one of the top probably 5 or 6 options to win this golf tournament, assuming he plays all 4 rounds. So I don't know what I'm going to do. It might be a situation where I play like a 3 max and, put him in all 3 lineups. And that's my way to get overweight on him in one contest and not have to play him in a lot of other formats. I don't know. Interested to hear what you guys are thinking. So let me know about that. But the Day situation is one of these things where you can't just say, I'm never playing Jason Day again. All right. I said I wasn't going to talk for a while. That was way longer than I expected to talk. All right. Keep going down the list here. Molinari, $8,600, and I love him. And here's the situation here. Molinari is, and I'll go through his, his strokes gained while I talk through this. Because it was the Players, because it's a major event on DraftKings, this pricing came out really, really early. So his price is not indicative of his win, right? So he's only $8,600. That pricing came out before DraftKings knew he was going to be the champion this week. So he's really, really reasonably priced. He missed the cut last year and then was 6th, 7th, 6th in the three starts before that. And he had another 9th place finish back in 2010. What we have seen is Sawgrass is, as with most, definitely a second shot course. But what we've seen is you really, don't necessarily have to worry about the whole, like, he won last week, can he win again thing? Because if you remember, and I'll try to pull this up pretty quickly here. If you remember, Molinari is, like, he was scorching earth for like a month last year where he basically won like every tournament he entered. Like, he can get on these really, really hot streaks from tournament to tournament. I don't think you have to worry about him being able to back it up because he has shown that he can do it. All right, so here's the game logs on Molinari from the end of last year. So this is April 2018, the end of last season. He wins at, I'm sorry. It actually goes back further than that. I was looking at the wrong column. It is from May of 2018. So he wins the BMW Championship on the Euro Tour. The next week, he comes in second at the Italian Open. 2 weeks later, he finishes 25th at the U.S. Open. Then 2 weeks later, he wins the Quicken Loans. Then 2 weeks later, he finishes second at the John Deere. And then the next week, he wins at the Open Championship. This is an absolute just scorched earth 6 tournament stretch where he had 2 wins in 2 seconds. So I don't think we really need to pack him into the whole, like, oh, the guy can't win back to back. He has proven that, and he has proven it more recently than a lot of guys in PGA Tour history, right? So really good spot here with the pricing. You will not be alone on Molinari. Everyone's going to roster him, but this is a situation where the value is probably so good, and he's the type of player that fits it so well. I'm not that worried about it. Continuing down, and if you look at this compared to last week, quite honestly, there's a lot of the same guys who perform well at the Arnold Palmer who perform well here at Sawgrass. So there's a lot of similar names. Hideki Matsuyama, again, is very interesting. Matt Kuchar, who we kind of always talk about, we talk about him more so in these fields where, now it's a super elite field. His price tends to fluctuate a lot more than most, where he's now down to $8,000. Below Patrick Reed, below Adam Scott. $8,000 for a guy who, has won this in the past, has won the Players in the past, 2012, third place in 2016. He made the cut and finished 17th last year. His track record coming in. I mean, I'll go up and show you here. Worldwide, Kuchar has, 50th at the WGC Mexico. Before that, it was 28th at Genesis, 22nd at the AT&T Pebble Beach, 4th at the Waste Management. I mean, certainly good enough stats coming in to get back on him. And then continuing down the list, I mean, guys like Rafa Cabrera-Bello have had recent success here. Keegan Bradley has. I mean, literally some of the same guys that we talked about last week. But there are a few more that I want to talk about. Where is my buddy Ian Poulter? Where the heck is he? Here, Poulter, $7,600. Played him last week. He was in my core lineup. Just grinded all week. I think he finished, I think he backdoored his way into a top 25, quite honestly. Let's see what his finishing position was. 23rd. So before that, last 5 starts, 23rd, 3rd, 6th, 3rd, 6th, worldwide. You get him here at $7,600, basically back-to-back top 10s the last 2 times he has played here, an 11th and a 2nd place finish. Has not missed the cut since 2013 and has only missed the cut twice in a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year stretch for Ian Poulter. He'll pop up on the strokes gained when we get there in a second, but wanted to shout him out. Zach Johnson as well. Again, I mean, this is literally some of the same guys that we've talked about. Hasn't missed the cut here in the last 9 years, including basically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top 25s. Some of that success was longer ago, but he is the type of player that I want to go and pull his putting stats. Let me see if I can find him really quick. I think he might show up on this list. Yeah. Okay. So he's been absolutely brutal on the greens, right? Zach Johnson. So if we go to Zach Johnson here, I'll pull him up and we look at his putting numbers, and he has been brutal. I mean, he has literally, he has only gained 1 stroke or more putting in a single round twice since Friday at the Waste Management. That was 4, 8, 12 total rounds. Hasn't been good, but that's not necessarily historic Zach Johnson, right? And even if you go to this hot and cold model, which I have, if you look at guys who are putting significantly or worse than their long-term averages, Zach Johnson is basically 1.1 strokes per round worse than what we would expect him to be long-term. He's been really, really bad. So if there's any regression there, I am a little bit concerned that, it's one of these situations where, I don't know, he's just lost the touch or something like that, because it has been an extended period of time. It's been 4 weeks or so. But that concerns me a little bit. Jason Kokrak, by the way, while I'm here, who continues to just pound out great results, is actually not putting what his career averages would indicate, which is kind of crazy as well. So to buy low on both of those guys, that I think is interesting. And then the last guy, and the guy that I will have to talk about here is Chris Kirk. $6,400. You saw that he made a charge on Saturday at the Arnold Palmer. I think he was 8 under, round of the day, something really nuts. I played him in a lineup, one single lineup. And what that lineup was, and I actually tweeted it out or actually not before the tournament started, but right after it started. What that lineup was basically players who have the largest difference between strokes gained tee to green and putting. And the way that I'm looking at this is the guys who are hitting the ball so well, but their putting is poor. The biggest discrepancy between those two stats. My thought, and this doesn't necessarily, everyone was like, oh, this is just a bad putters lineup, which it could be, but it's not necessarily. Rory is mostly on that list because he's so good tee to green. Not necessarily, I mean, he's not like, hasn't been a great putter, but he's not a negative putter like Keegan and Hideki and Chris Kirk, who showed up as well. So Chris Kirk was in that lineup. It paid off pretty well because he did go nuts and he had a pretty good finish. So if we go to Chris Kirk, 15th last week, he has top 15 the players 3 times in the last 5 years. And if we go to his strokes gained, let's see if I can find Chris Kirk. So you can see this. Gained putting the final 2 rounds at the Arnold Palmer. But let's go to his tee to green numbers here. And you can see he's pretty great tee to green, right? I mean, since the start of the Waste Management, 4, 8, 10 total rounds, he's gained tee to green in 8 of them. It'll be interesting to see if his putter can just kind of be neutral, or even like lose a half a stroke around, he's going to compete in a lot of these events. So this is a place where he's had really good success. And I think it's an opportunity to tee him up. This video is already going a little bit long, but it's the players and you made it this far. So we'll just continue for a few more minutes here because there is something like, I'm not really ready to show this new tool yet, but I feel like I have to now. I'm trying to figure out a way where instead of just kind of looking, or in addition to looking just round by round, or, like an average of how many strokes gained per round or per tournament, what I really wanted to do was do something where I can see like how often a player gains strokes. So this is kind of what I mean here. Again, this is not live yet. I'm still working out the kinks and working out all the details to this, but something I've been working on, and I'll post it when it is live, it'll be on the site, is basically how often a player gains. So if you gain a half a stroke or 10 strokes in a round, it is the same thing, right? You gained. So in this example, since the start of 2019, Chris Kirk is gaining strokes tee to green in 64% of his rounds. Putting, he's losing, or he's losing strokes in 64% of his rounds, almost like a complete flip there. But what I did want to show you, and let me see if I can do this very quickly. Again, this is not done here. Let me see if I can do this. Like this right here in the bottom right hand corner is a list of all the players in the field for this week, and they're sorted by salary, so highest salary players at the top. And this is sorted by, again, tee to green stats, and you can see DJ gains strokes tee to green in 71% of his rounds, which sounds good, but when you compare him to his peers, that's pretty low. Like Justin Thomas checks in at 87%. Rory, 94%. 94% of his rounds he gains strokes tee to green. That's unbelievable. Tiger, 90. And then Justin Rose is a much riskier player, right? So like, even if you're looking at this from whether it's a betting perspective or a cash game versus GPP perspective, some of these guys are a lot more volatile. And actually, what sparked this conversation, and not to get on a complete tangent here, but what sparked this conversation is we talked about Ricky Fowler, or I tweeted about it, about how inconsistent he is with his irons. Like he can gain, 3 or 4 strokes around with his irons and lose 3 or 4 in the next day. It's really, really inconsistent. You can see that, right? Like only 60% of Ricky's rounds does he gain strokes tee to green. But when he does, he's going to like, it's awesome. Like it's a ton of strokes. So one of the lowest numbers basically amongst his peers here. So those are some more upside or downside guys that you might want to consider. Just wanted to point that out. Something I've been working on, something that when finished will be added to the DFS on demand. It'll be part of my tools. All right. If you've come this far, I'll only take one more minute of your time here, and we'll sort this by win percentage, or by salary here. So just kind of looking at some values on projected win percentage. Unfortunately, Tiger, who I was really close to running out in my one and done this week, according to Vegas, or according to this calculation, would be undervalued. Only a 2.5% chance to win this thing. Koepka as well. I don't necessarily agree with that, but based on this calculation. Jason Day would actually be a pretty good value out of all the guys between 97 and $9,000. He has the best chance to win this thing. Tommy Fleetwood pops off. Xander pops off. Jordan Spieth would be just kind of devastating to play if that value is correct. Paul Casey at $7,900. Really, really good value to win this thing. He might make a lot of my lineups as well. Leishman pops off. Cabrera Bello again. Wow, just absolutely dominating the 70 or the $7,000 range. Him and Leishman by far and away the best guys to play in terms of win percentage. If you believe this, which it's a pretty good calculation, but we're splitting hairs sometimes with these little percentages. So there's a few guys. That's a long video. I hope you enjoy it. I love the players. This is going to be a lot of fun. Again, if you want to be entered into the contest to get access to Slack and DFS on demand, leave a comment below. Tell me what score you would shoot at Sawgrass this week in tournament conditions. Any other questions or comments about the new strokes gain tool or anything else that we talked about, tweet me. It's at DFS on demand or leave a comment below. Good luck. I'll talk to you soon.